I welcome you to our program that is entitled Intro to Integrated Theology. I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Let's dive right into our lesson today. This is going to be our second supplemental lecture to Lecture 7. Today, I want to talk about the purpose for the trichotomic mind. Excuse me. The purpose for the trichotomic mind. Let's dive right in. When we begin to understand that God created the mind, and the mind may have gone through alterations or changes after the flood and after the fall of Adam, really. And so what transpires now, the mind is existent in a trichotomic way. And there is a trichotomy even to the trichotomy. So every part is trichotomic. So let's deal with this and deal with why. The trichotomic mind begins with, first of all, one soul, that is the full compartmentalization of the mind, one soul, but various functions. The mind then has what we call an intellect. The intellect has the cognitive parts where we can learn, where we can begin to develop specific things, where we can have problem solving and skills of cognition. And so that is the intellectual part, the part that enables us to rationalize, to investigate, to observe, to analyze. Then we have the emotive part. The emotive part is basically called the emotions. The emotions then are those things that we respond to or react to. Emotions such as sadness, emotions such as joy, emotions such as anger, peace, emotions such as love. Each of these are responding emotions or responding things based upon the Latin term of emotion. The term emotion, ex movere, simply means that which moves you to respond, that which moves you to react, and it will determine how you react. So emotions move you. Intellect stabilizes you, and it calls for inquisition so you can learn. The final factor of the trichotomic um, abilities of the mind is the volition or the will. The will is the center of choice. The will is you making a decision based upon either your interpretation of a perspective, your examination of a thought process, your analyzation of a thought process. And so with the will, you lean on the logic of the intellect and the emotive of the emotions. And so as you begin to compare, as you begin to finalize what makes sense, should you move out on your feelings alone, or are your feelings to be interacted with what you have analyzed? And so what happens, the will determine, do I have enough intellectual or cognitive information to move out to make a choice? Or should I rely on the cognition as well as the emotion? But either way, the emotive stance moves. The will chooses how we will move and what we will move with. And this takes me to the trichotomic aspect of the trichotomic. When we have intellect, the intellect can move based upon its cognitive or logical points of view. And the intellect can also move based upon what we call the emotive point of view. Sometimes what we feel in our gut just feels right and we move with it. Then there is a volition of the volition that says, okay, you've already ran it by the intellect, you've already ran it by the emotion, it's time to move out. Then when we talk about the various aspects of it, you have an unconscious where the memory and where most of your solidification of ideals come from. The subconscious mind is the greatest and the most active aspect of the mind of your trichotomic mind. Then there is, the unconscious is the most active. It is the largest aspect of the mind. The subconscious then is, and some link subconscious and unconscious together because they are the conscious levels below conscious understanding, conscious awareness. But the subconscious is linked to the unconscious in that it is the bridge that reveals, and it is the bridge that brings us into a connection with the unconscious. The unconscious seeks to reveal to the conscious what is brewing in the unconscious, what is the focus in the unconscious, what the will has chosen to focus on. And so when you're speaking of the unconscious mind, the unconscious, the largest part of the mind, relays to the subconscious, which allows the conscious to gain understanding. And even when the conscious mind is not considering what the unconscious thoughts are thinking about, what transpires is the subconscious will relay what you're truly feeling, and it will be expressed in your culture. It will be expressed in your behavior, in your positioning, in your speech, in your facial features, in your facial communication, your nonverbal communication. And so when we speak then of the purpose of the trichotomic mind, first of all, the unconscious mind allows us to absorb and to store information for large periods of time. It allows us to begin to process what we are gathering through information. It allows us to process what we are learning and what we should be learning and what we have an inclination to learn, and to expand those inclinations. The subconscious then makes us aware. It tries to troubleshoot and to bring those things to us that we are focused on and we may not be aware of it in our upper level conscious. The conscious gives us the capacity to deal with day to day, the right now. And so we have what we would call time frequencies in our consciousness, or time frequencies, or time events, or dimensions of time in our trichotomic mind. The conscious deals with here and now. The subconscious is dealing with those things that we have developed over a period of time, how we respond, how we move, how we react. And the unconscious may house things that we haven't considered since we were children. And so the unconscious, the very past, the subconscious reveals the past, tries to bring it to today. It is the bridge that filters the information that we may have been pondering over in the past and that we are trying to solidify in the present. And so, again, you have time signatures. The present, subconscious, sometimes is preparing us for the future, and the unconscious, the past. This is all the time I have. And we thank you for joining us. This has been our Intro to Integrated Theology, and this is Lecture 2 of the Supplemental Lectures. Until next time, God keep you and bless you.